My dear friends, listen closely. You may be walking through a season right now where the darkness is thicker than it has ever been. The weight on your shoulders is crushing, and you wonder how much longer you can hold on. The prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling. The silence from heaven feels deafening. You're tempted to believe that maybe you've been forgotten. Maybe this is just how it's going to be. But I tell you the truth, not with vain hope, not with soft man-made words meant to soothe your emotions, but with the unshakable reality of who God is, you can trust Him. Even when your eyes see no way out, even when your heart feels too broken to beat one more time, He is not absent. He is not indifferent. He is not pacing the floor of heaven unsure of what to do next. He is not wringing His hands because your situation has somehow exceeded His power. No, He is sovereign. He rules over everything. The trial that feels like it's going to break you, He allowed it. Not to destroy you, but to refine you, to reveal Himself to you in a deeper way than comfort ever could. You want out of the fire, but He's not done in the furnace yet. And what you don't understand now, what seems cruel or unexplainable now, will one day be the very thing that shows the depth of His mercy and the precision of His love. Stop looking at your circumstances as if they have the final say. They do not. Your feelings are real, but they are not your guide. The winds may blow and the waters may rise, but the rock beneath your feet will not move. Not one tear has been unnoticed. Not one prayer unheard. His silence is not absence. His delay is not denial. He works in ways that you cannot see, and He answers in ways that go far beyond your timeline or your comfort zone. You say, but it hurts. Yes, it does. Growth always does. Faith forged in ease is fragile. But faith born in the fire, faith that clings when everything else falls away, is real. And it is that kind of faith He is after in you. Not a faith that depends on everything going right, but a faith that says, even if He does not deliver me the way I want, yet I will trust Him. So don't give up. Don't let the darkness lie to you. Don't let fear be your teacher. He is doing something in your soul that this world can't see. He is preparing something greater than you've asked for. And though you may not know when, though you may not understand how, He will come through in His way, in His time. And when He does, you will see that He never left. Not for a moment. You may be walking through a season right now where the darkness is thicker than it has ever been. That is not an exaggeration. It's not just a poetic way of describing a rough patch. This is real. You wake up with a weight on your chest. It follows you throughout the day like a shadow that never lifts. You lie in bed at night staring at the ceiling, not because you're dreaming, but because your mind won't stop racing. The burden is constant. You pray, but the heavens feel like brass. You speak, but you hear nothing in return. There are moments where your hope flickers like a dying flame, and you wonder if God is still paying attention. And if we're honest, painfully honest, you've asked the question more than once. Where are you, God? Maybe you haven't said it out loud, but your heart has whispered it in the silence. This isn't just about losing your job. It's not just about a broken relationship or the doctor's report that dropped like a hammer on your chest. It's deeper than that. It's that terrifying sense that the foundation is shaking. The life you thought you had figured out is unraveling thread by thread. And worse, the one you thought would fix it all isn't showing up the way you expected. That's the part that hurts the most. You were taught to believe He's good. You've heard all the verses. You've heard all the songs. But now that the storm has come to your house, now that the fire is in your living room, you're starting to wonder if all of that was just theory, religion, words. Because right now it feels like you've been abandoned in a cave with no map and no light. But the truth must be louder than your feelings. And the truth is this: God has not forgotten you. I'm not saying that to give you false comfort. I'm not saying that because it sounds good in a sermon. I'm saying it because it is the very foundation of reality. He does not forget His own. Not one of His sheep has ever been lost without His knowledge. Not one sparrow falls to the ground without His permission, and you are worth far more than many sparrows. You see, your present darkness does not mean the absence of God. It may actually mean the exact opposite, because often it is in the darkest places that He does His deepest work. When everything else is stripped away, when your strength is gone, when your plans have failed, when the people you leaned on have disappeared, that is when you begin to see who He really is. And that is where He begins to show you who you really are. There's something you need to understand. God is not in a hurry like you are. He is not looking at your situation with panic. He is not scrambling to figure out a solution. He's not waiting for the stars to align or for the perfect set of circumstances to come together before he can move. He's sovereign. That means everything is under his control, everything, even the things you hate, even the moments that break your heart, even the nights you cry yourself to sleep. None of it is wasted. None of it is random. And here's the difficult part. He's not always going to explain himself. He doesn't owe you an answer. He owes you no explanation. He's God. You are the clay. He is the potter. And yet he is a kind potter. He's not shaping you out of cruelty, but out of love. You think this season is about fixing your problem, but God may be more concerned with fixing you. Your comfort is not his highest goal. Your conformity to Christ is. And if that means walking you through a valley so deep that only he can carry you, then he will do that. Not because he's cruel, but because he loves you too much to leave you the way you are. So yes, this season may be darker than anything you've faced. Yes, the weight may be heavier than you thought you could bear. But you must not interpret your pain as divine abandonment. Rather, see it as divine preparation. You're being refined, you're being shaped. And though you may not understand it now, one day you will look back and see that even in the silence, even in the suffering, he was nearer than you could imagine. Not absent, not far away, but holding you, sustaining you, working out his perfect will through the very things you thought would destroy you. The trial that feels like it's going to break you, he allowed it. That is not an easy truth to swallow, but it is a necessary one. The God who loves you, the God who calls you by name, is also the God who governs every detail of your life, including the pain you are experiencing right now. That trial, that crushing disappointment, that unanswered prayer, that betrayal, that storm that came out of nowhere, it did not slip past his watchful eye. It was not a mistake. It was not a random blow from a chaotic world. It was allowed. And for some, that truth feels offensive. It's easier to believe that suffering is just the result of chance or a broken world. But to accept that God is sovereign, even over our pain, is to come face to face with a deeper, more difficult, yet far more beautiful reality. He allowed it, not because he takes pleasure in watching you suffer, but because he sees what you cannot. He sees what lies ahead. He sees what needs to be broken down in you and what needs to be built up. He sees the pride you can't see, the self-reliance that's quietly killing your faith, the idols that have taken root in places of your heart where only he should dwell. You cry out for deliverance and he hears. But sometimes his answer is not immediate rescue, it's deeper work. And that work often takes place in the furnace of affliction. We love the idea of God as the good shepherd who leads us beside still waters, but forget that he also leads us through the valley of the shadow of death. He doesn't just rescue us from hard things, he walks with us through them. Because it's in the fire that your character is refined. It's in the suffering that your faith is tested. It's in the wilderness that the idols are exposed, the affections are purified, and the roots of your trust grow deep, not in what he gives, but in who he is. The trial you're facing may feel like it's tearing you apart, but from heaven's perspective, it's making you whole. The very thing that you want to be rid of is the very thing he's using to sanctify you. You ask for strength, and he gives you weakness to show you his power. You ask for peace, and he lets the storm rage a little longer so that you'll learn to find peace, not in circumstances, but in his presence. You ask for answers, and he gives you silence, not to punish you, but to draw you deeper into trust. Because he knows something we often forget. The most dangerous thing for a child of God is not suffering. It's comfort without dependence. So often we assume that because something is hard, it must not be from God. But that's not how Scripture speaks. The narrow path is hard, the cross is heavy. The pruning is painful, but it is all part of his design for those he loves. If he allowed the trial, it means there is something in it for you that you couldn't receive any other way. The gold is not found in the meadow. It is found in the furnace. You are not being crushed to be destroyed. You are being pressed so that what is not of God can be stripped away and what is of God can remain. The pain is not pointless. The waiting is not wasted. Even now, in the middle of what feels unbearable, God is at work in you. Not 1 second of your suffering is meaningless. He is preparing you for something more than just comfort in this life. He is preparing you for glory. And that kind of preparation often involves tearing down the things we built with our own hands so he can rebuild with his. You want the trial to end. You want the pain to be over. That's human. That's natural. But God is after something supernatural in you. He is shaping your soul with eternity in view. And while it may hurt now, while the process may be long and confusing, he has promised that the outcome will be for your good and for his glory. That is not wishful thinking. That is the unshakable truth of who he is. So don't resent the trial. Don't despise the fire. Don't think for a moment that he has left you alone in it. He is right there, allowing what feels like breaking, only to rebuild you into someone who reflects his son more clearly than ever before. Stop looking at your circumstances as if they have the final say. They don't. They scream loudly, yes. They demand your attention. They shake you. They make you feel like your entire life is hanging in the balance, but they are not sovereign. They are not God. Your situation is not God. Your emotions are not God. That report, that setback, that betrayal, none of it holds ultimate authority over your life. They are real, they are painful, but they are not final. You see, one of the most dangerous things a believer can do is allow present circumstances to dictate what they believe about God. When everything feels like it's falling apart, the temptation is to assume he's distant, disengaged, or even displeased with you. You start interpreting his character through the lens of your crisis instead of interpreting your crisis through the lens of his character. And that is when fear takes over. That is when discouragement begins to define your prayers, when silence begins to sound like rejection, and when delay feels like denial. But the truth is, your circumstances are not the measuring stick of God's faithfulness. His word is, his promises are, his nature is. He has not changed because your situation has. He does not become less good when life becomes more painful. He does not step off the throne when trials enter your home. What he has spoken, he will do. What he has promised, he will perform. And though everything around you may look like it's in chaos, he remains seated, unchanged, unmoved, and fully in control. You say, but I don't feel him. I know. That's part of the journey of faith. Faith is not built in the sunshine. Faith is built in the storm, when the clouds are thick, when the winds howl, and when the only thing keeping you from collapsing is the truth you've chosen to believe in spite of what you feel. Faith says, I will not be moved by what I see, because I know the one who sees all. Do you know what Scripture says? It says we walk by faith, not by sight. That's not just a comforting phrase, it's a command. It's a reminder that your eyes will lie to you, your emotions will shift, your logic will fail you. But the truth of who God is, the truth of his word, the truth of his promises, they stand firm regardless of the storm surrounding you. Think of it this way. If your life is a ship, your circumstances are like the winds and waves. They come and go. They change direction. They can toss you around. But your anchor, your hope, is in God himself, and he does not change. So why trust the waves more than the anchor? Why let the temporary dictate your trust in the eternal? The enemy would love nothing more than to convince you that your situation is hopeless. That's his tactic. He uses what you see and feel to get you to question what you know. He points to the delay and says, you see, God isn't listening. He points to the closed doors and says, God has left you. He points to the pain and says, God doesn't care. But he is a liar. Always has been. Always will be. His strategy hasn't changed since the garden. He wants to get you to question the goodness and faithfulness of your Creator. But you have to speak back, not with your own strength, but with the truth of the word. You say, no, I may be pressed, but I am not crushed. I may be struck down, but I am not destroyed. I may be walking through the valley, but I will not fear, for he is with me. His rod and his staff, they comfort me. God is not surprised by your trial. He's not confused by your pain, and he is certainly not powerless in the face of it. He is working even when you don't see it. His delays are never wasted. His silence is never meaningless. He is orchestrating something that far exceeds your temporary comfort. And while it may not make sense now, while your heart may ache for resolution, he has promised that for those who love him and are called according to his purpose, all things, even the painful ones, are working together for good. So stop letting your circumstances preach a false gospel to you. Stop letting the temporary dictate your confidence in the eternal. Don't give more authority to the problem than you do to the God who holds all power. What you're walking through is not the end of your story. It's a chapter. A hard one, yes, but not the final one. And the author who began the work in you is not finished. He is still writing, and his pen does not slip. Your feelings are real, but they are not your guide. That distinction must be made, because if you begin to treat emotions as truth, you will end up in a place of confusion and despair. Feelings come and go. They shift with the weather, the season, the news, your relationships, your health, even something as simple as how much sleep you got. They fluctuate. They are inconsistent. They can reflect your heart, but they should never be placed on the throne of your life. God never intended for his people to be led by emotion. He called them to be led by truth. You may feel abandoned. That does not mean you are. You may feel unloved. That does not mean God has stopped loving you. You may feel hopeless. That does not mean your situation is beyond redemption. What you feel is not the final authority. What he has spoken is. His word must be your compass, not your emotional state. Because there will be days where everything inside you screams to give up, to walk away, to stop believing. There will be moments where your flesh wants to accuse God of being unfair, inattentive, or absent. But it is in those very moments that you must anchor yourself to what is eternal. The winds may blow, the waters may rise, everything you see may contradict the promise you were holding on to. But the rock beneath your feet does not move. He is not shaken by storms. He is not altered by your anxiety. He is not driven to act out of fear like we are. He is steady, he is sovereign, and he is not going anywhere. We are often tempted to let our circumstances determine our theology. If life is good, God must be good. If life is hard, God must be distant. But that is a shallow and dangerous way to live. God's goodness is not defined by how well things are going in your life. His goodness is not proven by open doors, answered prayers, or feelings of peace. His goodness is proven in his nature, unchanging, perfect, holy, and full of love that is deeper than you can understand. He did not promise that you would always feel his presence. He did not say that you would always feel strong, but he did promise that he would never leave you. He did say that when you pass through the waters, he will be with you. And that when you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. Not because the fire isn't hot, but because he is holding you through it. When feelings are high and fear is screaming, you must return to the Word. That is your foundation. That is your light in the darkness. You don't need a new sign from heaven. You don't need a fresh emotional experience. You need to remember what he already said. Go back to his promises. Rehearse them in your soul. Speak them aloud, even if your voice trembles. The word is not fragile like your feelings. It stands when everything else falls. You don't need to feel strong to trust him. You don't need to feel peace to walk in obedience. The step of faith is not always supported by feelings of confidence. It's often surrounded by fear and trembling. But he honors those who trust him anyway. Those who say, I don't understand, I don't feel anything, but I will follow you because you are true. That kind of faith moves mountains. God does not rebuke you for having emotions. He gave them to you. He created the heart. He understands what it means to grieve, to weep, to be in anguish. But what he calls you to do is place your emotions under his lordship. You are not to be a slave to how you feel. You are not to let fear keep you from walking forward. You are not to let sorrow write your theology. You are to take every thought captive and make it obedient to Christ. That means you preach to yourself. You preach when you feel like it and when you don't. You speak truth into your confusion. You declare his faithfulness over your weakness. You lift your eyes, not because the pain disappears, but because the one who rules the storm is worthy of your trust. He is your refuge, not your feelings. He is your stability, not your circumstances. When all else fades, he remains. When your strength fails, his grace sustains, and when your heart wavers, his truth still holds. So bring your emotions to him, lay them down, but do not follow them. Follow him, follow him, follow him. Follow truth. Follow the word that never returns void. That is where peace is found, not in the ever-changing winds of how you feel, but in the unchanging foundation of who he is.